Hi guys, welcome to the Nico show, and today we are going to talk about Dead Space. Now, first of all, I don't understand why would EA just outright cancel Dead Space? Like the Dead Space remake was a success and it was a good game. It is a good game. Now, obviously, when you compare a game like Dead Space remake, which was a single player game, to something of a live service game, obviously it won't have many players playing it continuously throughout the year, right? It's a one and done game, so it is expected for it to sell lesser when compared to the live service games. So I don't know what strategy or what mindset EA had when they released the game or when they started that project, because just discarding it completely after having such an amazing launch for the Dead Space remake, it just seems foolish to me that they will just abandon this game outright. Now, personally, I would like to just share that I love survival horror games, and especially when you add sci-fi elements to it. I mean, I'm going to buy that game first day. So just like that, I loved Callisto Protocol. Now that's a thing that we will talk about in a separate video. I personally liked Callisto Protocol for what it was. Similarly, I loved Dead Space for what it was. Now, I admit that Dead Space might have not sold that much, because at first I was surprised that why did EA cancel the game. So then I did a little research. I went on the internet, I searched for it, and I searched that what how much did Dead Space remake exactly sell. So yeah, I saw that it didn't sell as much. Now one thing that surprised me about Dead Space remake in terms of sales was that it was selling slower than Callisto Protocol. Now I didn't understand this thing, because Callisto Protocol was something which was inspired by Dead Space, yet Dead Space is selling less than Callisto, so things didn't add up for me then. So, but still, anyways, whatever it sold. Now, from what I read, Dead Space sold around, I think, 3 million copies or something, if I'm not wrong. Just let me check. I think it did sell 3 million copies. So, I just don't understand why was it abandoned. Now 3 million copies is not a small figure, guys. Let's be honest. Now the only explanation or the only reasonable explanation that I can think of from EA's point of view is that they had unrealistic expectations for it. I mean, that is the only answer that I can think about. They consider that having another Dead Space, investing more resources into another Dead Space is not worth it. So I mean, I just don't know, because when you take into consideration about the survival horror domain, that the genre, the genre, this survival horror thing is lucrative. You cannot say that survival horror is a dead vertical, that people don't want to play those kind of games. But when you look back at Silent Hill remake, the recent Silent Hill remake, it did well. And then even when you look back at Callisto Protocol, it did well for what it was. So, and of course the Resident 4 the Resident Evil 4 remake was also quite successful at launch, right? Now I understand that Resident Evil 4 is a different beast. It has a lot of diehard fans, so I can understand that Resident Evil 4 sold more than Dead Space. But then again, you cannot compare these two things and then just outright discard Dead Space because, well, it didn't sell well as compared to all these games. But when you look at it individually, Dead Space Remake did amazingly well for what it was. So still 3 million, 2 to 3 million copies, whatever it sold, I personally believe that is proof enough that people do want to play Dead Space, right? So why do you want to outright cancel it? Now my what do you say? My method of taking this forward would be to invest less resources into it, and maybe not invest much into graphics. Keep the graphics same as Dead Space remake. You already have uh, you know made a ground up remake of the first game. So why not use that code? Why not use those assets and flip those assets to make a Dead Space 2 in a different way? We won't mind the less graphical fidelity. We don't mind it because we already saw that Callisto Protocol, even though if it was graphically amazing, it was not that great of a game. So this clearly means that you should sort of realign your resources not into graphics but into gameplay and into storytelling, which Dead Space has. Dead Space remake has an amazing story. Dead Space in general also has an amazing lore. Now, of course, Dead Space 3 sort of went into action territory, and that is what upset many of the fans. But when you talk about Dead Space as a series, it has amazing lore. It has intriguing elements, which is not outright explained to you. You have to dig into the text files, into the audio logs that you collect along the way. But that is my biggest problem, that why do you want to cancel linear survival horror games? Just put less resources, set your expectations right. Now you have seen that it sells 2 to 3 million copies. Now, why do you think that it will only sell that much and not more? It can sell less, I agree, but why does it have to be cancelled? That's my argument here. Now, again, I am not a big corporate entity, so I don't know what intricacies goes into green lighting a project and making it happen. So I cannot comment on that because I'm not qualified to do that. But as a user, as a player, as a gamer, I can at least voice my frustrations that why was a unique game like Dead Space remake just discontinued now? And if you wanted to discontinue it now, then why did you even make it? Now, what is the point of revamping the universe, presenting it to an entirely new generation of audience, and then just abandoning it after the first project? Now, this may hurt me more because personally, I like survival horror games. I like sci-fi games. I love the atmosphere that the game has, the grittiness of it. Everything about the game oozes style, oozes grittiness, oozes sci-fi. All those elements. Like if you love Aliens franchise, you have those vibes in Dead Space, and especially if you love older games like Half-Life games, those older games which you used to play, games like Metro. So if you love those atmospheric games, Dead Space is sort of a continuation of those games. It has those spiritual elements of those games as well. So it is amazing to see such a unique game which borrows all the good elements, and it also has unique bones of its own. So to see such a franchise just discontinued and treated with such a disrespect is sort of disheartening for a gamer like me who enjoys survival horror uh, genre. So I just don't know, man. I was just pissed at it first. I was disheartened. I was disappointed because games like these are needed, guys. You cannot sustain the games industry cannot sustain by just making live service games, and more live service games, or making games broken and then fixing it later, year after year. And that is where the losses are. They are not seeing that their losses are in releasing broken games. So why not focus on condensed linear experiences now? Have a double A sort, instead of making a triple A budget game, make a double A budget game of your existing IPs like Dead Space. Give it some room to breathe, right? What will happen is eventually, now let's say for example you make a Dead Space 2. What if it sells more than Dead Space 1? And with that, what if people say, okay, Dead Space 2 is amazing, let's check out the first Dead Space game. So, by the virtue of releasing a second game, you also boost the sales of the first game. So, why don't you make the second game? I just don't understand. Now, see, I am not a major corporate guy or who is in charge of these projects or who knows how to develop games. I'm just a writer. I am an aspiring writer. I love storytelling, and the storytelling in Dead Space is its strong suit. And the Dead Space also has amazing suit designs. So I'm glad that they are making Iron Man game now. I think that's what is going on next in Criterion Games. But whatever, man, Dead Space is something that is unique, and it should have been continued, in my opinion. Let me know, guys, in the comments, what do you think about this situation. I know this news is old, but I just wanted to get it out of my chest and wanted to discuss about this. Man, I'm just disheartened by it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is it from the Nico Show. Hope to see you guys in my next video. Until then, enjoy life.